All right, welcome back, and all sorts of updates, but the most important update is that one. Oh, seriously. Well, apparently he has to make up for lost time and mark everything. So, yeah, here I am thinking, all right, I'll give you the big reveal. And no, he's going to pee on camera. Y'all are fired. So, Hugo is at the barn. If you've been following the saga, you know that he had major surgery. He is 9 years old. So major surgery at that age is dangerous. He came through with flying colors. The surgery was BOAS surgery, BOAS, which is brachiocephalic obstructive airway syndrome. It's something he apparently has been living with his entire life and has been so strong and so stubborn that none of the vets, nobody caught that he had it. And essentially what it is his soft palate is too long for his face or his body. And it, kind of gets inhaled like a cork and stops up his airway and he can't breathe. And for years, apparently, he has just pushed through that without ever showing any signs of distress, any issues, anything, until we had a bout of aspiration pneumonia. Yeah, he needs to make up for lost time here. This little stubborn thing. And once he had that bout of aspiration pneumonia, again, we thought it was a one-off, and we treated him. He had to be in an oxygen tank. It was, it was ugly. It was bad, but he came through, and he was right back to normal, released back to active duty, so to speak. But less than 6 weeks later, he had another episode, and it wasn't aspiration pneumonia this time. It was just literally an episode where he can't breathe. And, the vets and the specialists all decided, along with me, of course, that the risk of him continuing to have these episodes on such a regular basis, where they are literally an emergency. It's a 40-minute drive for me to get to the emergency veterinary hospital. And by the time I get him there, he's turning blue. It's just not conducive to a long life or quality of life. So our options were do the surgery, or, make some decisions around his end of life. And Frenchie lifespan, in some cases is as short as 8 to 10 years. It can go certainly longer. I know there's Frenchies out there that have probably lived to 15 or 18 years, bless their hearts. But they're not known to be a long-lived breed. So, decisions at 9 when he's a senior. Look at him marking again. He's got nothing left in the tank, by the way. There's nothing left, but he's sure going to make a chance. So anyway, so the decision was a big decision. And given that he had been through these 2 emergency episodes that were sort of unknown to us, and we had done so much diagnostics, right? We did ultrasounds and blood work and x-rays, and nothing else showed a problem, right? No heart murmurs, no heart defects, no cancer, no masses, no anything. It really made sense for us to give him that shot. So he had the surgery, he came through the surgery, spent about a night in the hospital, and then he spent the last 10 days on what I call house arrest. And house arrest involved keeping him not only quiet, but keeping him sedated, because the stubborn little booger will fight through the medication and try and play and try and come to the barn. And so we had to keep him pretty heavily sedated. Now, Frenchies, of course, we call them potatoes. And when he's being stubborn, he's Mr. Potato Head. And when he's drugged up like that, he's a baked potato. So he spent the last 10 days being pretty much a baked potato. Went to the vet or the surgeon for a follow-up. And it's a weird follow-up for me, right? Normally, if I have a surgical site, you can see a wound, you can see healing, you can see behavioral changes as they improve and the pain lessens and all of that. With this surgery, because it's inside his throat, there's nothing to see. And because we kept him so sedate on purpose because of his stubborn, Mr. Potato Head attitude, it was really hard for me to give a report out to the surgeon. And I told her that. I said, not for nothing, I don't know if it worked or not. He looks great, but he also looked great before he had his episodes, it's like, and even in between his episodes, I would never have guessed that he had a problem. So we're quite confident that the surgery helped. But there's not really an outward sign. There's not really anything other than, in the long term, no more episodes. And as long as there's no more episodes, he's not damaging his airway. He's not, at risk of turning blue when we're not around and asphyxiating. So, win-win, right? Today is his first day. What are you guys doing? You're playing? It's his first day back in action. He spent 2 days after being released going through what I'm going to call soft acclimation, right? We stopped his medication, we stopped his sedation, which he did go through withdrawal. Not drug withdrawal, cheese withdrawal. He was quite mad that he wasn't getting his regular delivery of, pills and cheese. And he kept showing up in the kitchen on time for his delivery of his cheese. We're past that. I think he's figured out he's not getting any more, but he did go through withdrawal. And now he is, he's truly back in action, but I'm noticing that he is self-regulating, right? So this is his first trip to the barn. He did not run down to the barn. He sort of meandered. I think a little bit of that is his need to sniff and smell and get, reacclimated. You can see he's kind of chewing on things. He has peed on everything. And he's really just enjoying his time back outside. So he's not doing whatever. Oh my goodness, what the other excited dogs are doing. They're having a blast. The temperature is fabulous. It's nice and cool in the morning. So this is where he is in terms of his recovery. He technically is fully released for duty, but we didn't want to send him into duty. And his duty is nothing but to be really cute and have some fun. In his mind, his duty is to run the farm, of course, but in the reality, his duty is just to be really cute and fun. So he is absolutely back in action, released, but we are slowly acclimating. So the first 2 days was more about, yes, you can come out in the yard. Yes, you can spend some more time outside. Of course, the weather cooperated because it's not 100 degrees anymore. But we're not going to bring you to the barn just yet. So now it's 2 days later and he's on his first trip to the barn. He did it in a slow pace, but he made it down. And he has to make it all the way back. And for him, that's a long trip, right? It's not all that far from the barn to the house and back, but for him on those little legs, it is a long trip. And he is really just spending his opportunity, sniffing and smelling and just enjoying what he wants to do. So The belief at this point is that he is in perfect shape, probably better than he's ever been, right? If he has had this problem for his entire life and has had issues with breathing, but has been able to kind of power through them, the fact that he's never going to have to do that again, the fact that we gave him, we opened up his nostrils just a little bit more than they were, so he got a nose job, means that he's passing air more freely, and he probably feels better than he's ever felt before. Now, he can't tell us that, of course, and we're going to keep him for the next, I would say, 4 to 5 days on a one-time to the barn trip for safety, right? For reacclimation. Rather than take him down to the barn 2 or 3 times a day, which is normal for him, we'll take him down just this once in the morning, and then he won't come down for the rest of the day, do a little bit of rest, recovery. And after, I would say, probably 2 or 3 days of that, you've got nothing left, buddy, but you are determined to mark everything that you haven't been able to mark in the last 10 days. So it's all good news. It really is. And I have to tell you, I know this is getting long, but I have to tell you the story of him, right? So I walked into his follow-up appointment, and we're at Red Bank Veterinary Hospital in Hillsborough, the best hospital that we could possibly have taken him to. They really did right by him. They took care of him. They spoiled him rotten, to say the least. And the surgeon for well, first off, we walked in the door, and all of the receptionists, all of the techs, it was like walking into Cheers. Hugo! I didn't have to announce myself. I didn't have to check in. They knew who he was. They were super excited. Of course, he had been there 3 times in the last 8 weeks. So, he's certainly familiar, but they all came out to see him and scratch him and love on him. And then the surgeon says, okay, I want to take him for a lap around the hospital. And I assumed that it was to kind of get him breathing heavy, right? Like, so she could hear how his breathing was doing when he starts to pant a little bit. Now, little did I know that it was really more of a let's go visit everybody in the back that took care of him and spoiled him and loved on him. And then, even the surgeon, who, frankly, I don't expect to be so attached. She had called for a follow-up, which is unusual. She was super, super fabulous about the whole situation. And she's like, please send us videos of him back in action. Let us know how he's doing. Keep us informed. They are so invested in him. It's amazing. And he clearly he loves every bit of it. So this morning he played with Tonka for the first time in 10 days. Well, more like 12 days. And that was hilarious because he played harder than I've ever seen him play with Tonka. He's always kind of, given Tonka the what for and made sure that Tonka understands that, he's in charge, quote unquote. But he's all, yeah, all the birds are coming to see him too. But this morning he decided that, this was time for playtime, and they were wrestling. And I haven't seen that ever. Even when Tonka was a puppy, there was no wrestling. Look at another mark. He is on fire. So I know this is getting long and I need to cut it off, but I just wanted to share one, Red Bank Veterinary Hospital in Hillsborough. Thank you, thank you, thank you. You not only saved his life twice when I brought him into you in darn near hysterics while he was turning blue, you also gave him a new lease on life with the surgery, and it went so well, and you took such good care of him, and there's absolutely nothing that I would change about what happened in terms of, you know, needing to have that. So we're going to slowly get him back to full capacity over the next, you know, week or so. And yeah, he will be running the farm again. And if all goes as planned, given how healthy everything looked other than that, he might be running this farm for the next, you know, 4 or 5 years. And that is fantastic. So it's all good news. We're happy to have him back. He's happy to be back. He's happy to not be standing at the back door, sedated and barely able to stand up, but still standing at the back door, staring at us, frustrated that he wasn't with us. He's back. Thank you to everybody who sent some, you know, prayers, good wishes, whatever, and who thought about him and asked about him. I truly appreciate it. I truly, truly do. And I think it helped. And yeah, all is good. So as always, until next time, I don't know where he's going. I don't know what he's doing. I'm not sure he does, but he's got a mission and he's going to accomplish it. So he and I both have work to do. Bye for now.